Good afternoon, everyone, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Thank you for joining our fourth installment of our Career Guidance webinar series. My name is Tamma Nicholson. I'm the Program Manager for the Career Training USA program at InterExchange, and I'm joined by my colleague Fatima Rodriguez.
Hi, everyone. My name is Fatima Rodriguez. I am the Communications and Recruitment Coordinator here at InterExchange, and I'm excited to present to you how to build your online presence and leverage your LinkedIn profile.
So for those of you who are unfamiliar with InterExchange, we are a cultural exchange organization based in New York City, and we assist students and young professionals to engage in programs in the United States, and young professionals and students to also engage in programs overseas. The Career Training USA program specifically works with interns and trainees who are coming to the United States to train in skills related to what they've studied or based on their past professional experiences. So while there is a pause in many internships, international internships that are in person, we want to make sure that we are still providing guidance and resources when it is time to resume face-to-face international internships and traineeships again. As you prepare to start searching for your internships, or if you've already begun searching, you should be thinking about creating your online presence. So we're going to talk about that today. And with that, I'll toss it over to Fatima to begin the presentation. But I do want quick housekeeping. Everyone is muted due to the size of the attendees. So if you do have any questions, please type it into the chat box and we will answer those questions as we go through the presentation. But we do have a dedicated question and answer section at the end of this presentation.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tamara, for that introduction. So we're going to talk a little bit about the outline of the session to begin with. We're going to look into how you can harness the power of your web presence, develop a consistent image, and take advantage of specialized networks. And in addition to this, another reason why we want to cover this topic is also because the Department of State will be looking at your social media platforms during the visa application process. So having a positive online presence will be really important. So in the first half of the section, we'll go over how to build your online presence, how to create it, establish your personal brand so that it's consistent on all platforms, and then how to monitor your own online activity to make sure that it's clean and it's polished. And then the second half of the webinar, we're going to talk about how to leverage your LinkedIn profile. We'll define what exactly LinkedIn is, how to maximize your first impression on that platform, and how to be an engaging active member, grow your online network, and then how you can apply for an internship opening using LinkedIn. So how should you how to create an online presence? So chances are you probably already have created a variety of different accounts on or created accounts on a variety of different social media websites, such as Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and LinkedIn. But if you haven't, the first and easiest step to creating your online presence is to establish accounts on these social networking websites that will essentially showcase your previous experiences and skills. Now, this is really important because employers use social media to search for and recruit talented interns and trainees like yourself. So they will typically check your profiles as a way to kind of judge your character and then also vet your credibility. So no matter, how many social networks you may already have, or no matter how much experience you have posting on your profiles, you might lose many opportunities if the content you post online is inappropriate. And we're going to talk a little later about how to monitor your activity online so you make sure, again, that it's professional and it's something that future employers would like to see. So an effective social media presence is built through meaningful and deliberate posts. So what I mean by this is that you want to use your social media platform to produce and also reshare contents or posts that you find to either be insightful or compelling to your intended audience. And another great way to showcase your work or projects that you've completed during university is by creating an online portfolio or even writing a blog. And this would be really helpful for employers to see your skills and also provide that supplemental support to your resume, especially in the fields of either, architecture, design, film, journalism, research, and amongst other films of that fields of that nature. And just because there are so many different fields that you can display your work by having an online portfolio or even creating a blog. So, creating and building your online presence, as I mentioned, will allow you to document and exhibit your work that is ultimately presented in your resume or your CV. So, the next time someone asks you for a sample of your work, you'll be able to readily share a link to your online platform by including that link in your resume or even other social media platforms. And creating online portfolios can be really simple, and there are many free websites such as Weebly.com, as you see over here, Wix.com, Behance.net, and even Dribble.com. And designing your site or blog, um, you want to design your site or your blog with a theme based on your personal brand. And you want that title or other creative content to reflect that. So definitely don't forget to include an About Me section in each one of your social networking platforms that would really identify who you are and details your interests and goals. And in addition to your About Me, you always want to include a Contact Me section with your name, email address, and other professional social media accounts, just because you want whoever is looking at your social media platform to be able to freely contact you just in case they're interested and might want to offer an opportunity or learn more about some projects that you've been working on. And when you're creating your online portfolio, definitely feel free to use samples from either class projects or previous work projects, especially if you haven't had um, a variety uh, a variety of like professional experiences. You can definitely use your previous class projects to demonstrate your knowledge and your skills and talents. And the reason for this is because, your online portfolio is essentially your body of work. So you want to take advantage of being able to have that audio and visual representation of your research and experience. You can even include photos of yourself at work or in your lab or videos that you've created as part of, for example, maybe like your film studies. This really just allows other people or future prospective employers to really learn about you and easily find your work through the social networking platforms of either, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Google Plus. Um, just so it just reflects who you are. And additionally, I do want to note that the website or blog you create doesn't necessarily have to be related to your career focus exactly. You can write a blog about your life experiences or even write about other interests outside of your industry field. Um, and the reason I say this is, for example, if you're in the field of writing or journalism and you're interested in something, or if you're very passionate about, whether it's cooking or travel, you can write about this, and because you're passionate about that topic, it can just be another way to showcase your writing. Or for those who would like to go into social media or marketing, it's just a great way to display your knowledge and use of other online platforms. So I mentioned that you want to have a personal brand that's reflected across all your social networking platforms. So I want to like walk through with you how to establish your personal brand. And the reason why is because social media is all about storytelling. So it's really important that you establish this and show consistency throughout all your online platforms. So before you begin working on your social media profile, you want to create a statement that is unique to you and unique to your brand. Each social media platform will include an area to describe yourself. So you'll want to use that section to highlight your qualifications for a position that you're interested in. So for example, your bio on Twitter could read architecture student at NYU or interested in criminal justice. And other sites like LinkedIn that would have sections of your profile specifically for past employment, or and they will also have another section to display your brand statement. And here is definitely where you can shine and show employers what you're about. And by having a brand statement on LinkedIn, this will likely increase your visibility and credibility to prospective employers. So, and later on in this presentation, we'll talk more about how you can leverage your LinkedIn profile during an internship search, and we'll discuss the different parts of your LinkedIn profile. So now there are typically different advice on how to develop your personal brand, but the golden rule is to always be authentic. Remember, you're telling a story. There are three keys to unlocking your personal brand, and that's the education and the scope of your experience. And this is where you'll highlight the education or training you've received, the years of experience, and the scope of your experience. You'll also want to include a branding promise. This is where you'll express your combination of skills, experience, and personality. Try to think about what matters to you. What is it that you're really passionate about, and what can you offer to that your future employer that your other peers cannot? And finally, talk about your unique strengths. What are the things that are unique to you that that are your strengths, or maybe it could be like your natural approach to your work or your interests. Remember, your personal brand should reflect your target job. It is essentially a statement of value that promises how your personal attributes separates you from your peers. Now, I wanted to show you some examples of a really consistent personal branding across different platforms. Here is actually one of my friends. She has her Instagram profile. She talks about wellness, travel, and fitness. She talks on her Instagram and also reflects that on her Twitter as well. You can tell that she really likes to travel. She's very much into wellness and fitness as well. So you want to add that personal branding to your about me section, and also have a consistent handle throughout all your social media platforms as well. And this is really important, because you'll never know where you can potentially find internships. I interviewed a previous InterExchange participant, and he actually found his internship through Instagram. Um, and and the reason for this is that why it's really important is because the reason for this is why it's really important is because um, you never know who you can reach out to um, through Twitter, through Instagram. And when they visit your page, you want it to be professional, and you want to show them, what you're about. You can even showcase some of the maybe designs that you're working on in your Instagram profile, or even your Twitter, some writing examples. It's just another great way to utilize these social media platforms to find internships. So moving on into how to monitor your online activities so that you ensure that you have a positive image on these social media websites. So once you have a solid online presence, maintaining a positive online reputation is very important. So to create an effective and engaging social media presence, remember, think before you post. People, especially potential employers, care about what you post. What you say online, even if it's personal, has the potential to impact you professionally. You should never use your online platform as sort of a diary, especially if what you write might be negative, inappropriate, or even hurtful to others. Many people may post something, whether it's impulsively or spontaneously, that may or may not have a negative impact on the way they can be perceived. So before you post, think, would this raise any red flags? And putting this kind of technique into place will give you an idea of what kind of things you should share with others and what should be kept private. Additionally, if you do have your own website or a Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, you should definitely take extra care to make sure that it is perfectly polished and that you showcase great, great grammar. So another way to kind of think about how to proofread your profile is to ask a friend or even your university advisor to take a look at your social media or even your website for a second opinion. You know, some if you do use consistently bad grammar online, some employers may even think that you're careless or even unattentive to, or like don't have too much attention to detail. So you just want to make sure that you're always putting your best foot forward in every way. And one of the best things that you can do for your professional image is to scrub your profiles and stay on top of the ever-changing privacy settings. So in general, I would definitely recommend that you delete or untag anything that you might seem as unprofessional. This could include pictures, posts, or tweets. And sometimes it might take asking a friend to take down a picture of you. Also, you want to be careful who you follow and who you're friends with. This definitely could be a reflection on you. This is a different, because this could be a reflection on you and your interests. And sometimes that might not align with what employers are looking for. And in addition to this, definitely spend sufficient time on each site learning how to best protect yourself from people outside of your immediate circle. A lot of these social media websites are always changing, and that includes the privacy settings. So definitely check often to make sure that when you search for yourself, um, that, as a recruiter, you like what you see. There is a tool on Facebook, for example, that is called the View As button. And this tool allows you to see what the public sees, which can give you an idea of what privacy settings you have set or may need to change. Additionally, another tip that I like to suggest is to use an incognito window to search for your name on Google and just see what pops up and see how your profile is viewed by others. And lastly, the last tip is to remember to keep your profile up to date. Make sure that every few months that you add or remove certain things from your online profile that would prevent misleading information from being circulated, but also to allow potential employers to learn about who you are as a person today. So just imagine that you haven't updated any of your online profiles for the past few years, and maybe a recruiter from a big name company views your profile, but then all of a sudden concludes that you don't have the qualifications needed for that internship. But in reality, you actually have gained plenty of experiences throughout the years that are related to the job, but potential employers have no way of knowing this since it displays outdated information. So, in short, not updating your online information can cost you potentially maybe once in a lifetime opportunities. So I just wanted to pause here quickly to see if there were any questions in regards to um, building your online profile, online presence, and monitoring your online activity and establishing your personal brands. Tammin, are there any questions?
It looks like we have about three questions that have come in so far regarding this part of the presentation. The first question relates back to some of the online portfolio sites that you recommended. Are there certain online portfolio sites that are better for some professions than others?
So all the websites that I had referenced earlier are all great options to use professionally to showcase your portfolio. However, I would definitely take a look at each of those platforms to see what features best work for you in terms of how you want to showcase your portfolio to potential employers. I would say that the options that were listed definitely really depends on what kind of design you're trying to display and how you want to display your body of work.
Awesome, great, thank you. I like this question, and I think it relates back to the slide we are currently on. How do I balance my privacy settings and build my online presence at the same time?
That is actually a great question, and I know that sometimes it can be definitely finicky in regards to, wanting to share something that's personal, but also wanting to keep things professional. Um, and to be honest, you can honestly post whatever you want, but you definitely need to be more conscious of your online profile. So maybe you can like play with the privacy settings, maybe you can be private on some of your profiles and maybe public on other profiles. So, for example, if you want your Instagram to be more personal to you, maybe that's something that you can make private, or you can even create two accounts. Maybe have a personal Instagram account that you just share photos with your friends, and then maybe another professional account where you display your work. So, for example, as I mentioned earlier, maybe you're in architecture or you like photography or film. That's something that you can have separate from your Instagram account or even, Facebook. Obviously, LinkedIn, you definitely want to be professional on LinkedIn at all times, but this is something to just consider when you're creating or posting on your online platforms and to be something to think about.
Great. The last question I see so far is how does video differ than traditional social media platforms as far as utilizing and um, monitoring activity? I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but basically, like, is there a difference between video and regular social media platforms?
So, video platforms are actually really similar to traditional social media platforms in that you can actually create your own profile and share whatever content that you'd like to share. Um, Video platforms might actually be a great place for those who are in film or video editing, just because you can actually share and edit your own videos, maybe create playlists. It could prompt some discussions based on your brand and what you're about. And YouTube and Vimeo are great tools to use if you would like to showcase your videos that you've created with potential host employers, and maybe even link it to your portfolios, like your blogs or even LinkedIn.
Excellent. It looks like those are all the questions for now. I think we're ready to dive into LinkedIn.
Awesome. So many of you might know or probably are aware of what LinkedIn is, but we'll quickly go over what LinkedIn is for those of you who are unaware of it or how exactly to utilize it. So LinkedIn is actually the world's largest professional online network. It has about 675 million users and at least 20 million companies listed. So it is a great source to do some research into some companies that you'd be interested in. Um, and in comparison to other social media networks, LinkedIn does carry a certain level of professionalism and decorum that is expected from your profile. It is the top, and because of this expectation, it is the top social media tool used by recruiters to find potential intern candidates, and with at least 90% of recruiters regularly using LinkedIn. And as I mentioned, because there are about like 20 million companies listed and at least 675 million monthly users, it's a great platform to build your brand and network with different industry professionals and maybe do some research into alumni or request informational interviews, which we'll discuss later on. But also with LinkedIn, it's just a great resource to keep you up to date with different industry news that's currently happening, within your field of interest. And while you can always read books and news articles, LinkedIn does a really great job of creating a platform that will allow you to stay ahead of new and exciting things that's going on in your field. And and everything on LinkedIn is current and up to date. So this is why it'll allow you to stay ahead of all those industry news as they come in. So here's a quick snapshot of some LinkedIn statistics that I thought were really interesting. About 75% of people who recently changed jobs use LinkedIn to inform their career decision. So as you see, there are so many people who go on LinkedIn to to research different companies, to see you know, industry professionals, to learn more about them and to connect with them. And so I would definitely recommend using LinkedIn to start with your internship search and learn more about your company. And we'll talk about how to build your LinkedIn profile and why it's really important to have a profile that stands out. And as you can see, it's the number one source of quality hires, with at least the top recruiters being 60% more engaged with LinkedIn as a recruiting tool. And the reason for this is because when recruiters go on your LinkedIn profile, employers get a really quick snapshot of who you are. So not only is your resume posted, but your LinkedIn profile shows opportunities for engagement and how involved you are in your field. So recruiters can see your resume, what organizations or groups you belong to, who you're connected to in your field, and if anyone has recommended you or endorsed your skills. And these are things that will make you stand out in your field, and we'll talk more about how this would look like on your profile. So now that you've established your personal brand, there are some key profile updates to keep in mind in order to maximize your first impression on LinkedIn. Because completed profiles rank high in Google searches, this will give you the opportunity to control what employers see when they search for you, and also allows you and gives you the opportunity to create a narrative that shows what you can offer them. So don't forget to set your profile, your LinkedIn profile, to public viewing, that it's the public can view it, and also customize your profile URL so that you can easily convey to people what your LinkedIn profile is, and also be able to fit that link on your CV and resume. I would definitely recommend customizing your profile URL to maybe just have your first initial, last name, maybe some numbers if that's taken, a number like your favorite number, maybe your birthday, something that's really easy to convey to other people. So in addition to this, on your LinkedIn profile, you'll want to upload a professional looking photo. This is essentially how people are first introduced to you, and it really governs their first impression from the start. Remember to use an image that's recent and then takes about, 60% of the circle. And I'll show you in the next slide what that looks like. But definitely be mindful to use a photo that is warm and inviting, and don't forget to smile with your eyes if you don't really feel like smiling. But again, just be inviting, that you're someone that people would like to work with. And after you've uploaded your profile photo, it would be best to add a background that indicates your education focus. um, your professional field, or any other interest that you may have. Your background photo is a great way to grab people's attention and create some context around who you are. So if you'd like, you can create a custom banner actually on Canva for free. And, like who wouldn't want like a memorable profile? So definitely really utilize different tools to kind of create a profile that will really captivate someone who's first looking at your profile. So once you've updated both photos, think about what you would like your headline to be. You'll definitely want something that distinguishes yourself. This is usually the best place to put your personal brand statement. Edit, definitely edit the headline to be more than just your education experience or even your job position. And what I mean by this, you definitely just don't want to be like student at um, X university. Maybe you can add other projects you've been working on or scholarships that you've obtained. So maybe you can be like on your headline, Fulbright scholar at X, interested in mathematics or something of that sort. Just so again, it's a little bit like more like it says more about who you are than just a student. And then once you have created a personal brand statement, that would reflect your once you created a headline that um reflects your personal brand statement, the next is the summary section. And this is your chance to tell your story in more detail about your experiences. So don't use this, you don't want to use this section just to list your skills or experience. You definitely want to start with a strong opener to get your audience to keep reading. And this is just another way to talk about your personal brand and express your goals and key accomplishments that reflects your skills and passions. And definitely don't forget to update your contact info on your profile so that recruiters can reach out to you. So next slide, we're just going to quickly go over like what I briefly talked about. As you can see, she added a profile photo with her smiling. It's a very clear photo. And then she added a background that has to do with like different computer servers. So you can kind of get an idea that, she might be into computers, statistics, and in her headline, she does say driven analyst. She's not just defining her, um, she's not just defining her her student or her excuse me, where she goes to school. So it's and then in addition to that, to create after she has updated, after she has done that, she created a summary. Um, and then here she talks a little bit more about what she's interested in, like how she is a dedicated professional with comprehensive skills in linear algebra. So, in addition to this, she's using a lot of descriptive adjectives to describe who she is and how she's uh, is is um is a desirable candidate. And then not only does she talks about herself a little bit more, but she also lists her accomplishments and also her interests, just so whoever is visiting her profile can get a little bit more understanding of who she is. And then also the contact info, definitely update that so that whoever is visiting her profile can quickly click on the contact info and then reach out to her. And then also the ranking. Um, Most completed profiles tend to rank higher on LinkedIn so that you appear more in searches. So that's why it's very important to have a completed up-to-date profile on LinkedIn. So we're going to move on into another section of your LinkedIn profile, and this is your experience section. This is a place to share what you've done and then how well you've done it. You'll want to highlight the responsibilities that align with your headline and summary. So list your most recent experience, even if it's part-time. definitely share what you've done and again, how well you've done it. And then LinkedIn also gives you the option to include different media formats to attach to your work experience so that you may showcase your work. And this could be photos, video, blog posts, and even a PDF file. And don't feel discouraged if you don't have too much work experience, as I mentioned earlier, because you can definitely add additional experiences to your profile, whether that be volunteer experience that you've done previously, your education, some projects that you've worked on and courses that you've taken that you think would be pertain to the internship, and then honors and awards that you've received, in addition to some licenses and certifications that you've also acquired throughout your educational or professional experience. And the next slide again, we're going to quickly go over what that looks like on your LinkedIn profile. So here you can see that she, was a lot of her previous work experience relate to her interests again. So she was in a cybersecurity intern, like intern in qualitative analysis statistics, and then she again does it kind of lists her experiences in reverse chronological order, and then briefly provides bullet points about her responsibilities and how well she has done those responsibilities as well. So another important section of your profile is your skills and endorsements and recommendations. You want to add at least 10 skills that best reflect this, what you are known for, the skills that you're known for, that really makes you stand out and really makes you shine. You definitely want to delete skills that don't relate to you and what you do, because this gives you a false representation of you. And in general, you don't want to put any false information on your profile and potentially mislead employers, because eventually um, that might be known later on, and you don't want to look bad to prospective employers at all. And and if you're worried about getting endorsements, and endorsements is essentially kind of a way to get credibility for your skills. The best way to get endorsements is to give endorsements. So if you feel that your peer is really good at public speaking, that same person might go back to your profile and endorse you in social media skills, perhaps. So this is just some ways to potentially get some more endorsements. If you feel that if you feel a little bit shy for asking endorsements or whatnot, that's just like a really easy way to get some endorsements on some skill sets. And then another important thing to have on your or another important aspect to have on your profile is recommendations. And recommendations essentially is from the recommendations are typically from managers, professors, or classmates that you've worked with, and they will essentially recommend you to potential employers, and that recommendation will be shown on your profile. So that maybe your previous colleagues will talk about how well it was to work with you, that you're a hardworking individual, and that you're very knowledgeable on certain like subject areas, and that you're adaptable and whatnot. It just really illustrates their experience of working with you, and again, just gives more credibility to your strength and your skills. So here, um, again, this shows this candidate. Her skills and endorsements are in public speaking. It was endorsed by maybe about 4 people who were also highly skilled in that. So you know that, oh, here's a person who's highly skilled in public speaking, and they just endorse this candidate. She must be really good at public speaking or event management as well as Spanish. And then at the bottom, you can see the recommendations. Um, and it again just showcases how well it was to work with this person and just their experience of working with this person. And it again just shows that, okay, this person is good at public speaking, event management, and now I also have some recommendations to back up that she is in fact really, really nice to work with in the work environment on certain projects and whatnot. So again, just a brief overview on like how to have a um, complete LinkedIn profile and how to really maximize your first impression so that when prospective employers are visiting, you can see they can have a quick snapshot and a quick overview and have all the information they need so that they would be interested in you as a participant, as a prospective intern. So now before I move on into talking about being an active member and how to grow your online network, I just wanted to pause here again for some questions about, how long your summary might be perhaps, or and whatnot.
I think that you saw one of the questions that's in the chat box, Fatima. But yeah, we do have two questions that have been chatted. The first is how long should a summary be?
So in short, there's not really a right or a wrong answer to how long your LinkedIn summary should be, but the summary section allows you to compose about 300 to about 350 words. So it's important to remember that you don't want your LinkedIn summary to be dragging to the reader or even have like rambling paragraphs with no clear point. So before you begin your summary, create an outline of things you want to say and the order of it. So maybe you want to start off with a strong opener, like a hook that will captivate your audience. And then next, you want to state your mission and talk about what you do, what's important to you, and why. Then list your experiences, provide proof for your experiences, highlight your interests, and then at the end, provide your contact information and how you might want to be contacted.
Excellent, thank you. And the other question is related to endorsements. Is it okay to list a skill even if you don't have an endorsement for that skill?
It's definitely okay to list a skill, even if it isn't endorsed initially, because it does relate to your experiences, your professional interests, and or if it's in fact a an actual skill set of yours. Once you start receiving endorsements from other people, other colleagues that you work with, they'll see that skill that you listed and would be like, oh, wait, in fact, she actually is really good at public speaking. Let me endorse her. I do remember that she's really good at this. As opposed to, maybe if it wasn't listed. Like, if you feel that that is true to who you are or true to your skill sets, I would definitely recommend posting that skill on your profile.
Great, it looks like those are the only two questions so far regarding LinkedIn.
Awesome. So now we're going to move on into how to be a more active member on LinkedIn. And this will essentially really help you to grow your network, which is what you want to do on LinkedIn. So by sharing content on your LinkedIn feed, you do start to have a more active role in your network since sharing content is an added value to your connections. It will add value to your connections. It really shows your interest in keeping up to date with industry trends and current news in your field of interest. So it just shows, that you're in the game, that you're sharing something valuable that you find interesting and that you hope that those who are connected with you also find interesting. So when you begin to share posts, add some thoughts and comments that you may have about the article that you're sharing. You definitely give yourself a little bit more prominence when you express why a particular piece is important to you and why does it matter to you. It really establishes your opinions and some thought leadership. Another way to be an active member within your network is to complete LinkedIn courses. LinkedIn Learning offers over 6,000 courses with a variety of different industry leading professionals. And While there is I believe a monthly fee to LinkedIn, LinkedIn Learning does offer a free month first trial, so you can see if the platform works for you and see if any courses are of interest to you. I know that, previously there had been a lot of free courses because of the pandemic that had been made available. Um, I know, I think it was Microsoft that had created, a learning path for technical courses around software development, financial analysts, or even more soft skill courses. So definitely take a look to see what they're offering now, because it's something to take advantage of, especially, if it's free in the meantime, or if you want to take advantage of that first month's trial. Um, and the reason why I say this is because you can actually earn badges and skills and add it to your profile, which in turn again showcases your passion for learning and gives you that credibility on a certain topic. And once you've completed a course, maybe you can actually connect with the industry professional who taught it. I would recommend definitely writing a note stating, hi, I watched your course. I learned this, and I think I think this is really interesting. Would you mind if we can connect a little more, and like and maybe I can learn a little bit more about your position or some projects your company's working on. And this is just another great way to have access and begin to start and grow your online connection. So now that you've created your LinkedIn profile and you've made that great first impression to prospective employers, um, and then you're learning how to be a more active member, it's time to start and grow your online network a little bit more. So make sure you're building a strong and relevant network that is excuse me. You want to make sure you're building a strong and relevant network in the sense that it relates to your professional direction, and you want to be clear about your professional direction. Um, and a way to do this, to make sure that you're actually connecting with the right people, think about why you're using LinkedIn. Are you using it to look for an internship? Are you just starting your undergrad career and want an idea of the companies out there? Maybe you want to learn about different trends that are happening. Um, are you looking for volunteer opportunities? These are just some questions to think about when you're thinking about growing your online network. And the reason why I say this is because sometimes when you're new to LinkedIn and you don't fully understand its use, you may start liking a lot of random organizations that may have nothing to do with your professional interests. So you want to be more intentional and focus on the quality of your profile and your network, and just make sure that what you're doing is relevant to your interests professionally, and of course, and most importantly, your brand. So unlike other social media platforms, you want to have more quality connections over quantity on LinkedIn. So it's not about how many connections you have. You're better off to have good quality connections than connecting or liking everything you see on LinkedIn. So if it's think about again, if it's not going to get you closer to your professional goal, don't connect with that person on LinkedIn. Now, this isn't to say to not connect with your peers or colleagues, family, friends. Sometimes your immediate network will actually help you find opportunities that you may not necessarily have found on your own. Sometimes you might have a suggestion on who to connect with, and that's because you're connected through your peer and whatnot, or some professors or other colleagues. So definitely connect with people but you don't want to just connect with a lot of random people. So another tip to grow your online network is to search for topics, companies, organizations, maybe former classmates or faculty in your professional field, and send them personalized connection requests. Um, and if, let's say, you don't know the person personally, this is actually where it becomes really important to have a strong like one-click profile where they click on your profile and everything is right there and they have everything they need to learn more about you and your interests. And that's because the person is more likely to accept your request if you come highly recommended. And before you even connect with someone you don't know, send a note um, to that person, especially if you engaged with them before, have read their posts, maybe even saw them in person, or met them in person. And I wouldn't be discouraged if someone doesn't accept your invitation to connect right away or doesn't respond to your message. Just because people use LinkedIn differently, some check it every day and other use it more sporadically. So if you don't hear back from someone, I would just, maybe take a step back, let it go, and work on some of the connections that you currently have in order to find an internship or grow your online network a little bit more. So another way to grow your online network is by following relevant influencers in your industry so that you're able to stay up to date with a range of content that that particular influencer had shared on your feed. So for example, let's say you follow Bill Gates. You'd probably share an article and they would probably share an article or news about what the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is currently doing. And then this will in turn will give you the ability to share the information that Bill Gates had shared within your network. And then again, adding more value amongst your peers because it shows, that you really are interested in what this foundation is doing and you have, expressed your opinions on it. This just gives more context to your profile because it demonstrates your interests, the passion in what you do, and who you even looked up to. Also, follow companies you'd like to work with. Many companies will create a company page on LinkedIn to represent themselves, and so they can also build their online presence. So, by following companies where you're interested in working, you can stay current with company news and updates, which will basically show up on your feed or by visiting their profile. In addition to following some companies or visiting their profile, you can also see who works there and see if there are any positions listed on their company page. And, overall, you just get to learn more about the company and what they do. I do also want to point out that when start looking into these companies, that you can also invite people at that company to connect with. And as I previously mentioned, before you connect with them, include that personalized message. So even if they are not the right person to speak with about a current job opening, they can probably tell you who you should contact or even put you directly in touch with that person. So you also can actually request informational interviews with an employee at that company to get more background on their positions or if you have further questions about certain projects the company is working on. This, by requesting that informational interview, it just shows initiative and it can actually really separate you from other candidates who have not done that step to get that internship. And if you do get an interview with one of those companies, you'll have less research to do ahead of your interview once you do start applying. And that's why it's really important to just be a more active member on this platform. And lastly, join groups that are of professional interest to you so you can begin to connect with others in similar fields. This can be university, alumni groups, clubs or associations, or even industry specific groups. So after you've completed your profile and you've done the work to like grow and grow your network and be an active member, you can begin applying on LinkedIn by clicking on jobs, the jobs section. And in the next slide, I'll show you a little bit about what that looks like. Remember, before you apply for the job, read the description and attach a cover letter and resume if it asks. So your LinkedIn profile may act as your resume if you have completed it in full, but sometimes companies ask for that additional cover letter or even your resume. LinkedIn also gives you the option to save jobs, so you can always go back to the jobs that you've applied to. It just makes things a little bit cleaner and easier to like follow up with certain jobs that you've applied or certain internships that you've applied with. And then you can also set up email alerts for some jobs you may be interested in. So let's say you're not actively looking for internships. If there's certain keywords that match, you'll get an email sent to you with these active with these open internship positions that would be available and might be of interest of you. Another feature that LinkedIn has is that LinkedIn has an open to work feature that you can add to a section of your profile that would let recruiters know that you're looking for internships. So you want to excuse me. So you'll have the option to have this visible to either all LinkedIn members or just recruiters only. So if you're a student, I would set this up to be visible to all LinkedIn members just because there might be people in your network who be willing to help you if you do find to help you find an internship. And again, it's just another great network to see that, oh, this like oh, I went to school with this person and she's looking for an opportunity, maybe I can help her out. So you never really know. There are different ways to have that opportunity and build that network. So here, I just quickly wanted to show you how that job search kind of looks like. There's an icon at the top that is jobs. Once you click on that, you can search for internships in different cities. Here it says the United States. You can be more specific. Maybe that's New York, San Francisco, California, Los Angeles. And then the third step, you can save the jobs. Maybe you're not ready to apply at that moment, but it's something that you want to go back to. You can save it. Definitely read the description again, look at the duties and responsibilities, what they expect of you, maybe is something that aligns with your interests. And then here it says easy apply, so you can actually apply with just your LinkedIn profile. I still would recommend, maybe adding that cover letter in or resume. It just shows that you're well prepared and that you are really interested in that internship position. And then here on the right side of the screen, as you can see around the person's photo, it says open to work. And that's just kind of what it looks like once you do set up that open to work feature that will allow recruiters to see, or like prospective employers to see that you are in fact open. And at the bottom, it just shows you how to add that how to add that feature to your profile. You just click on add profile section and then looking for a new job. And then you can edit, the view, like who the open to work feature is visible to. So with that, that concludes our presentation. I do want to briefly talk about some additional career guidance webinars that we're going to be rolling out for through March. The next webinar is going to be next Tuesday, February 16 at 2 p.m. We're going to talk about how to search for internships in the United States. So if anyone has any additional questions at this moment while you take a look at which webinar that you'd be interested in joining, feel free to type into our chat box some questions that you might have regarding this webinar.
So we have a couple of questions that are coming in already. So the first one is about language. If someone is in a country that's not English speaking, but they're interested in an internship in the United States, should they make their LinkedIn profile in their native language, or should they make their LinkedIn profile in English?
That's actually a great question. I would honestly write your LinkedIn profile in English, just because a lot of the prospective employers or the employees that work at the company of your interest might not speak Dutch. So when they visit your profile, they wouldn't be able to comprehend the content of it, and they wouldn't just have they wouldn't be able to understand like your previous experiences, um your read your recommendations. So I would suggest to definitely write it in English, just because your prospective host employer may not be able to understand that language. And it's similar to how if you were to submit your resume to potential employers, you would want to write that in English, and they would like to know that that you also have the English skills to intern in the United States as well.
Yeah, I want to chime in too because I read something recently about LinkedIn features, and I believe there's a feature in LinkedIn to add a secondary language to your profile, so someone can click on your profile and see the secondary language. But exactly to Fatima's point, it's not going to translate your references or your recommendations or anything that you post. It might just it might just translate your summary and some top level stuff. So I think there are some features in LinkedIn, but I wholeheartedly agree with Fatima's advice of make your profile to who you want to see it and hire you. Another question I think relates to one of the last things we talked about, the open to work. Can if I make it open to work, can my current employer see that I'm looking for other positions?
So if you do include the open to work feature on your profile, your current employer might be able to see it. Um, I wouldn't recommend that you put this in your headline, because that's, really prime real estate and would be better used to have have your brand statement or learn about, a little bit more about you. You can instead use the open to work feature that I previously mentioned in the last slide. In theory, your employer wouldn't be able to see this option displayed if you choose to only show it to recruiters. But then again, if your current employer is an actual recruiter, they could potentially see that. So I in theory, again, they're not supposed to see it. But I would definitely suggest using the open to work feature, then including seeking opportunities in your headline.
And the last question that I see so far, is there anything that I should not post on my LinkedIn profile? I assume besides the
There
obvious, but
Yeah, there are definitely a few things you shouldn't post on your profile. As you mentioned, there are a few obvious things. You definitely don't want to post any complaints about your current or former bosses, colleagues, or company. You don't want to post anything with any spelling mistakes. Don't publicize your job search, such as, seeking opportunities. If um, and then also maybe anything that's unrelated to your current interests, or excuse me, or that's unrelated to your job, such as, maybe like some personal photos, or anything. Yeah, I would say like maybe it's like personal photos or videos. That feature to add photos or videos is definitely should be linked to your professional field or some things that you've worked on or projects you've worked on.
excellent. I think those are all the questions that we have. So just going to put up our contact information one more time. If you want to contact Fatima via email or the career training team via LinkedIn, all of our ways to contact us are up there. Fatima, thank you again for presenting today. It was helpful even for me to learn how I can spruce up my LinkedIn profile and my own online presence.
Awesome. Thank you again so much for joining this webinar. We hope to maybe see you in the next week's webinar. Have a great day or night or wherever you may be.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.